Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast, emergency edition, as the Avs have officially acquired Devan Dubnyk for a 2021 fifth-round pick and Greg Pateryn. AJ, right off the bat, as YouTube comes in as well, just to reiterate, the Avs acquire Devan Dubnyk for a 2021 fifth-round pick and Greg Pateryn. My immediate thought when I see this deal is that looks like good value. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we knew that they were gonna. We knew that they were going to nibble around the edges a little bit here. We also knew that they weren't going to do something irresponsible for a backup goaltender. The reality is Philip Grubauer, at least for this year, is their ride or die. And I just,
I
don't know. It's
so
if Devan Dubnyk's name was
anything
Kevin
other than
Schnubnik,
Devan Dubnyk, yeah.
If this was Kevin Schnubnik, it would be we would all be like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, for Avalanche fans, a pretty significant emotional component here, right? It's the guy who Avs fans have widely hated for a long time on a hockey team that is, quite frankly, the closest thing they've had to a rival in their modern era. So
yeah,
it's a tough pill to swallow in that regard. But I think the reality is, at least for me, the cost certainly softens the blow.
Yeah, the cost is nothing. We've been going on and on about trading all of this year's picks and just don't even
just not even dealing. Draft. Yeah, they're getting close.
They're down to the first, a third, and a seventh. So we're
almost there.
We're closing in here.
Gonna have to make some moves in the offseason / in the draft to fully get there, I think, because look, I think the other side of this deal is it kind of feels like the Avs are probably done already, you know? Or do you think there's something left in the tank on like a forward or something?
They're going for it, dude.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that take.
I say they're going for it, and they have given up. They've given up a fourth rounder, a fifth rounder, and a sixth rounder to get a 4-5D and then their second and third goaltenders.
Yeah, they've acquired depth and they haven't actually given up that much of high value, right?
And they haven't touched their NHL roster.
Right.
Because Greg Pateryn wasn't on it.
No. Like he was straight up an AHL or not even taxi squad at this point. So
these are not.
These are
both expiring UFAs, Nemeth and Dubnyk. Yeah. Johansson's not under contract next year either.
Right. It is very much a right now move, and I think that's definitely going to be part of the question here is, look, if the Avs had stuck with Johansson, they're looking at him playing 2, maybe 3 games down the stretch at most. With Dubnyk, how much do you think they're realistically looking at?
I mean, just look at the schedule.
There are, for the record, 16 games remaining. They have played 40.
So I would say 4 games for your backup.
Yeah. 4. A solid 4.
I mean, I would say 4 games for the backup in the final 16 with the assumption that more could come.
Well, yeah, and look,
if they clinch their playoff spot and they're not dicking around with
rest is a thing that happens, yes.
You know, and whatever. This also this also opens up the door, and I'm gonna put this into the universe, and I know some of you aren't gonna like it.
Oh geez, here we go.
this opens up the door, kind of depending on how the end of the season goes, because they end with that back-to-back in LA. This opens up the door for a Dubnyk Johansson finish of the season for their last two games, where group just chills.
You think they would just run the three goaltenders on the actual roster?
I mean, what's the difference?
You're right. If it clinches, does it really matter? No, is the simple answer.
What are you going to do? Put Johansson through waivers after all this?
Right. I mean, you could. Does it matter? Like,
I'm not messing with any of that. There are too many things happening in my brain at the same time.
Yeah, it's been a hectic morning, to say the least, or at least a hectic last 30 minutes. Anyway.
Yeah, Drew Kreisman and I were literally like 30 seconds from going live to talk about Godzilla versus Kong, the movie, and to do our gaming podcast. Yep. And this happened just as as we were getting ready to get started on that. So. I've had to turn that brain off and turn this brain on, and the reality is like, I think the people that are really, really, really upset about this, Devan Dubnyk's only going to play a handful of games.
He's only going to play a handful of games. I don't know that I'm going to help your case if you're saying not to be upset about it when we take a look at these numbers.
No, look, there's a reality here, and it's a Devan Dubnyk has played like shit for San Jose, and he played like shit for Minnesota last year. That's why they got rid of him. The Wild, one of their biggest questions in the offseason was, we need to improve our goaltending, and their answer was get rid of Devan Dubnyk. So it's not encouraging that his last season and a half of play
is not good. For the record,
he hasn't been very good.
His numbers this year in 17 games played, 13 of which were starts, 3 wins, 9 losses, 2 OT losses, a 3.18 goals against, and an 898 save percentage. Sub 900. Now, he is playing for the San Jose Sharks, which has an ugly defense.
He's playing for a team that's not very good. His last 3 appearances, just looking at him right here, he gave up 5 goals to Vegas, 4 goals to St. Louis, and 3 goals to Arizona. Before that, he gave up 2 goals to Vegas, and he shut out Anaheim.
Yep.
Which, as we're learning, is just a thing anybody can do.
Not that difficult, indeed.
If I dig into it a little bit more, if you look at his actual save percentage in the games that he's played this year, he has 9 starts with a 900 save percentage or higher.
So 9 of 17.
Yeah, and
he's 13 starts. So that's actually pretty solid.
And he has 11 appearances this year where he has given up 3 goals or less. And one of those he only made 2 saves, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, that's not even an appearance, count. Really. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has a couple of relief appearances in here as well. But almost all these relief appearances, he's played like half the game.
So Sharks have pulled their goalies a few times. Put it that
way. He really only has one truly terrible start, where he gave up 7 goals to St. Louis,
which, as we saw with Grubauer less than a week ago, it happens.
Yeah. He does have. He has 6 starts. Sorry, I was counting. He has 6 starts where he's given up 4 or more goals. So that's not great.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say though is that if you look at the shot totals, 30 in all of the starts where these shot totals or all the starts where he's given up 4 or more goals, shot totals are 32, 32, 37, 33, 20 where he gave up 4 goals on 20 shots, and 31. So he's seeing significantly more rubber than you would expect he will see in Colorado.
Well, it's also look, if you're talking about a backup goaltender for Colorado here, like let's be straight up about it.
This is 100%. They have given themselves a little bit of peace of mind, and they've given themselves like your classic like veteran has been a number one starter, blah 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 blah.
Go down the list of the cliches, basically. It's very straightforward on that side of it. It's
like all the people who have been hankering for them to upgrade the backup goaltender position. They just did that.
Yeah, this
and
is
the ones who wanted like Dreger from Florida and stuff, like that's gonna cost them their first round pick. And let me ask you, would you really seriously give up a first round pick for a guy who's probably only gonna play 4 games for you?
Absolutely not.
Because like and those are the guys who are gonna the people who feel that way are gonna be the ones who, if Grubauer gets hurt in the postseason, they're gonna come out and be like, "Oh my God, we told you, you should have done this, you should have done that." But
I mean, that's a fair question in itself, AJ.
It's like, part of the conversation. If Grubauer gets hurt, this didn't answer the problem. How much better do you feel with Dubnyk than Johansson? You feel better, not significantly. Just because Dubnyk's a more known quantity. Like Dubnyk 3 years ago, you feel great right now. You feel like you
have 2 starters if you're talking about Dubnyk 3 years ago.
Yeah, Devan Dubnyk today, you don't feel that way about him. You just don't. Yep. The people that do are living in the past. Now, these are goaltenders.
They are goaltenders. That is correct. So anything could happen on any given moment.
When it comes to trying to figure out is a goaltender deal a good deal or a bad deal, the only way that we'll ever know is to make the deal and just see what happens. There isn't really.
Well, and the absolute truth of this is like any goaltender can get hot at the right moment. It doesn't matter whether it's Devan Dubnyk or who they traded for, right? It's just literally anyone could get hot at the right time. But that's not what you're making the trade for. That's a bonus if you get it. The reality is, though, the Avs have made a couple of decisions here. And number one being they're pretty much ride or die with Grubauer in the playoffs, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, they were not. The idea that they were going to trade for somebody who like, oh, if Grubauer gets hurt, they won't experience drop off.
Right.
Okay.
It's nonsense.
So you can only have it one way. You can either have the goaltender that you lift up and say is the Vezina, like should be in the Vezina conversation. Or you can have the backup goaltender who you don't experience much drop off from. You're not going to have both.
Yeah.
Nobody has both. Not even Vegas has both with Fleury and Leonard.
I think,
and to be honest with you, that's actually a great counterweight to this. How much better does it make Vegas to have a really good backup goaltender? To have $12 million invested in goaltending going into the postseason. If one of them gets hurt, they're okay. But they don't worry about it.
If one of them doesn't,
how much do you think they would love to be spending the $7 million on Fleury's salary or the $5 million on Leonard's salary to try and upgrade their roster?
Yeah, exactly.
To upgrade some of the other spots on their roster and not sink the resources into the position where only one guy plays.
And I think something we haven't even talked about with this trade is the ability to dump Greg Patterson's salary here to get Devan Dubnyk.
You don't know what John Bernier cost, though. You don't know what Yzerman was asking for John Bernier, and I personally just don't know the answer to this. I don't know what his injury status is. Because if that dude is out for the next 2 weeks, there's no point.
Right. You're talking about if he misses 2 weeks, you're talking about him playing literally 2 games for the Avs this season. And I don't know what his price was either, but I guarantee you it was more than a 5th round pick and a cap dump.
Yeah, they were not going to take Greg Patterin and a 5th round pick for John Bernier. Exactly. Now, if they would have taken a 3rd, would you have preferred that they take the 3rd for that over this? I would. But yeah, I also am of the opinion that I don't give a shit about this year's draft. So it's easy for me to say that. It's easy for me, guy with no consequences and no skin in the game, to say I don't care about this year's draft. I'm not worried about giving up a 3rd round pick for that guy.
I mean, here's what John Bernier would have done for me that Devan Dubnyk doesn't. We're fast forward 8 games in the future. It's neck and neck, Colorado and Vegas for the number 1 seed.
Uh-huh.
I'm way more comfortable playing John Bernier in an important 2-point game than I am Devan Dubnyk. With that being said, I'm not that uncomfortable with Dubnyk. You put a solid team in front of him, yes, there's a chance he has a stinker game. Just like with any goaltender, there's a chance that he has a stinker game. Yeah. But the chances of being truly terrible, being a game where he gives the Avs 0 chance to win, are not high.
That's fair. Oh, I didn't. Bernier played this week. Great.
It's a moot point anyway because the Avs have Dubnyk now. So
yeah. The price. So from everything that I've heard about Reimer, the Hurricanes wanted an NHL player. You can understand where they're coming from given Reimer's play over the last couple of years, but given that they have 3 dudes at that position.
Oh, it's just situationally too, right? Like the Canes have no interest in going towards the future right now. They're top of their division. They're also trying to push for a cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can just as easily roll in there with their 3 goaltender situation and feel good about themselves. And whoever they lose in free agent, when free agency comes around, that'll sort itself out.
I mean,
but
with the reseed too in the conference finals or the equivalent of the conference finals, or do you really want to give the Avs that backup goalie piece that pushes them over for home ice advantage?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking even had they done that deal, it was going to cost something from their NHL roster, and why would the Avs do that for a guy that, again, we're talking about not going to play?
Right, as much as
I think I'm not giving Devan Dubnyk a nickname. He's Devan Dubnyk.
Yeah, he gets to be Devan Dubnyk. That's
the thing is we get to stop calling it. We get to stop making 7-pass Dubnyk jokes. We hope.
Yeah, this trade's gonna look really bad if we don't stop making that joke. So that's hopeful.
They're not getting Hall. I don't know why they would go and get Taylor Hall.
How could they even?
Well, they still have the cap space and they still have a 1st round pick.
I mean,
why would you?
That would be a weird fit. The reason I have talked about Reinhart so much is because there's longevity there. There's a future you're looking at. Taylor Hall for 15 games. Does it make the Avs better? Yes, absolutely. But it's a weird fit for the rest of this season.
Yeah, you're not even.
It's irrelevant. Yeah.
We don't need to have this conversation. There's a reason we've skipped Taylor Hall conversations at every.
Exactly, and we can get into this other conversation though, because clearly, based on the other day, you, myself, Evan, we're all okay with moving NHL roster players for the Avs.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, if the Avs believe that they were a backup goaltender away from winning the President's Trophy and contending for a cup in that regard, why would they want to move anyone?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things that they had to address at this deadline were they needed a backup goaltender, they needed another defenseman who would play on the PK, and third on that list and still sitting there is they could really use a third-line center that's an actual third-line center. And that hurts me to say it, but Tyson Jost, it's been better, and
But still,
that line's process has been excellent. But Tyson Jost he just hasn't produced the points that he needs to keep that job. Again, it's been better, but it hasn't been quite good enough. And getting a true 3C that can give you a little bit more of an offensive punch there.
sure.
Sam Bennett's not it. So
no.
we're talking about centers, not guys who have a reputation for playing center and who play on the wing.
Can't actually play center.
Yeah.
So there's hope for our trade deadline day show, is what you're saying, that the Avs could still do something.
Yeah, there's still a checklist here, and they still have about $4 million and their highest value draft pick. So a big move is still sitting there. If they want to truly push the chips all in, they can.
Yeah.
Right now, they really haven't. What would you like us to talk about the locker room? The players aren't going to be big fans of Devan Dubnyk based on the history. You know what? Everybody that's having these conversations, go back and watch that Michael Jordan documentary.
Yeah.
Because those guys hated Dennis Rodman's guts. And then Dennis Rodman helped them win a grip of titles. Because that guy could help them. Devan Dubnyk can come into the locker room, and if they believe, hey, this guy can help us shore up this position, he's going to help us win a couple of games. He's also going to be a bit part on the roster. He's not going to be a main player. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup. If they let this petty bullshit of the Minnesota-Colorado rivalry get between them, then they don't deserve to win the Stanley Cup. That's all there is. That's all there is to say. It's just
look, winning cures all ailments, right?
You know who hates Devan Dubnyk the most is Avalanche fans.
Very, very true.
The players are going to completely do what they have to do, and if they don't, then they don't deserve the cup. It's that simple. If they're gonna let petty squabbles get in the way of stuff, then they're not gonna win anything. There's not gonna be anything meaningful. Given how this team has come together over the last year, I don't know why anybody would believe that this is gonna be any kind of an issue.
An interesting question. P.S. Hi, Dad. When does Devan Dubnyk play his first game for the Avalanche?
Tomorrow.
You think so? You think they fly him in and they just do it?
I mean, we'll see.
Okay. Hang loose on that one, maybe, but it could happen.
I think Johansson has earned a farewell start.
Yeah, look, he did throw a shutout literally yesterday.
And it's also going to be against Anaheim.
Yep.
So it's you're still talking about a bad offensive team here.
Yeah, right. Look, there are a lot of games coming up for the Avalanche against St. Louis.
Yeah, so
is the goal to maximize Grubauer against them?
Let's just say he doesn't play. Let's say Dubnyk doesn't play in this back-to-back starting tomorrow.
Sure.
So let's say Johansson goes tomorrow and Grubauer goes on Monday.
Sure.
And then Grubauer goes against St. Louis, and then Grubauer goes against L.A.
Do you give Dubnyk one of the L.A. games, probably?
And then I would give Dubnyk the Sunday L.A. game.
Sure.
And then you go with...
You have 3 games against the Blues and then 2 against Vic.
Yeah, well...
So do you
want him playing all 5? Do you want him playing 5 in a row?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Went out and... What I would say... Plan for him to play the first 2 games against St. Louis.
That 1 o'clock game is the one that it's
see how things go and where the standings are. Some of that will also play into this. You know, if the Avs win 7 games in a row and Vegas is suddenly 10 points behind in the standings, you give Dubnyk the game. You give Dubnyk an extra game or 2 along the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Look. There's a plan of attack here, but it's always going to be fluid. So, you adapt to the situation as it happens to you to a certain extent, but you should have some set points in the season where you've gone out and acquired this guy. You should have targets to use him. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense if they've got the guy.
Is today deadline day? David Savard's getting traded to Tampa Bay now.
Is he getting moved today? All right, everyone wants to get their jobs done, I guess.
I thought Tampa Bay's GM literally came out and was like, we won't have any money to do anything.
We saw my boy Brandon Montour go to Florida too, so it's been a day.
Really, really just reminds you that Florida doesn't know what it's doing.
Okay. Whatever you say, AJ.
I just wanted to take the fucking day off.
Right? We both, after the game last night, were like, oh, Saturday, finally a day off. And now, nope, here we are, talking about Devan Dubnyk in an Avs sweater. Will Dubnyk be the lowest selling Avalanche jersey of all time?
Oh, they won't make one.
They won't make one? They won't even try?
No.
Okay. So, I guess we can start wrapping up our thoughts here. Dubnyk makes the Avalanche better in a position of need.
He for the cost involved, it's a min-max here.
Yeah,
if you apply the same argument of look at what Johansson has done behind Colorado's defense, given Dubnyk's track record, there's a lot of good feeling, good reason to believe that Dubnyk will be just fine.
You watched him be wildly successful behind a very quality defensive Minnesota team for years and years and years. So certainly there's a track record there.
Yeah. So it's just not it's a super cheap depth move.
Yeah.
So this was cheaper than getting Nemeth.
Yeah. Especially when you consider, I mean, obviously the fourth, fifth, whatever value is basically the same there. But then the Avs also get to move Patterson out, which,
holy lordy, I am curious what this ends up being
for what's his name?
Supposedly
Savard.
The return for Savard is significant.
Big. Hey, look, Tampa did it last year. They moved firsts for guys like Goodrow, and it worked out. So
they understand, like, this is their time.
Yeah. They know they got to win as many as they can right now.
Yeah. Well, and they're not going to be able to play Kucherov with the surgery bullshit game next year. We go back to a normal season next year.
Yep.
They're not going to be.
They can't just magic around the cap with nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to be able to, like, goof troop their way through it.
Right.
So go for it while you have a shot at it. And if we get a Colorado Tampa Bay final, hell to the yeah.
Hell to the yeah.
This is only controversial because it's Devan Dubnyk, in my opinion.
I agree. If this was named literally any other name and was the same statistics, everyone would say they upgraded their spot. End of story.
Yeah, and even with the poor season that he's having, you do want to believe that he will get even just the smallest bump out of playing behind Colorado.
You have to think so. You would have to think pretty much any NHL goaltender gets a bump playing behind Colorado. So it seems pretty straightforward to me. It seems like the Avs got better to me. Is it significant? Maybe not, but these are the types of moves that are the difference between home ice and not in something like the Cup Finals. So
it could be, yeah.
Sometimes min-maxing, you got to do it, especially when the cost is a fifth-round pick, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so cheap.
Yep.
Honestly. I don't know. I'm fine with this. This is right now. If I was grading this, their work as a whole, I would say this is a B-.
Yep, I agree. That's exactly what I had it pegged as B-, which means they got better. Not a ton. It's not amazing. Joe Sakic didn't fleece anybody, but they made a hockey team that is already at the top of the league better.
Yeah, Cygnus is right. This is like when you get to Renown 36 and they give you the 2% the 2% stamina buff, and you're like, dope.
You live that ability with 300 health now instead of dying.
Yeah, you're like, great. Cool. Now I'm not necessarily popping a personal in that situation. I'm deciding that's a healer problem.
Oh, everything's a healer problem. Are goaltenders the equivalent of healers, AJ? Is that
kind of? Yeah. Are they? They're sort of like tanks and healers.
Yeah, they might be more like tanks, probably, to be honest. I think.
Yeah, Luke, if this is all the Avs do for the deadline, I'm fine with it because they just didn't need to
do very much. Yep, agreed.
They didn't need. They just didn't need a lot. So them not doing a lot and kind of nibbling around the edges and filling in filling in some of their holes. This is fine.
You're looking to fill in holes. No, we don't have any reads, obviously, here. Anyway, are we good, AJ? Have we discussed everything we need to, or is there anything else you want to add?
I really just want to keep killing time until I see what the Savard deal is.
So you can talk about the Savard deal.
Well, I'm just curious about it because we're going to turn this off. It's going to end up being like a huge deal or something, and it's going to be something that we want to talk about, and we will have just bailed.
I don't think it's going to be that huge. I mean, Savard's got value, but he's not crazy.
Yeah, it isn't like he's like a third pairing guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it definitely makes them grittier because Devan Dubnyk's kind of a shithead.
You wanted grit. They got a gritty goalie. Confirmed. It's the way it is.
I don't have anything to say about the Montour deal. I talked about how I felt about Montour yesterday. He's not any good.
I like him more than you do. I think it's an okay deal for Florida, but let's be real. Florida's trying to replace Aaron Ekblad, and Brandon Montour don't do that.
A lot of this Scott Laughton talk today. I don't know. He's a great character guy.
Okay.
But I don't know like how much of an upgrade he would be on Tyson Jost.
Yeah. I don't feel like it's a significant upgrade, but they just min-maxed, so they could min-max that position as well.
I like
liking Scott Laughton. Well, the other question is, what do you have to give up there? And that's the question with anyone that the Avs go and get, right? It's never just, oh, he makes you better. It's what's the cost of him making you better? And yeah. I honestly don't know. I haven't looked into Scott Laughton enough to tell you that he would cost exactly X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, the Avs love Nolan Patrick if that was available.
That's that's a conversation as much about the future as it is this very.
Yeah, that would be an off-season deal, and that would be to be honest with you, that's like the Shane Bowers deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in that on who's going to want what. And
you guys want us to predict the Savard deal? Is my chat super slow today? Oh, it is. Wow.
Yeah, my chat's been weird too. I don't know. Yeah, same. It's doing weird stuff.
Yeah, no. I mean, if it's supposedly going to be significant, you have to think that the first round pick is involved.
Tampa's shown the willingness to throw the first around. I don't see why they wouldn't be willing to give up another one. If they feel like he's the winning piece, sure. If that's the case, I sure am glad that the Avs didn't give up a first for him, because I don't think that's great value, at least for Colorado. But, maybe I'm wrong. The reason I sit here on a podcast and don't GM in the NHL. That being said,
Is that the reason?
There are some NHL GMs that struggle with their jobs too. So, not naming any names. Certainly not Joe Sakic.
Yeah, he's one of the. Yeah, Tampa Bay has all of their first round picks. Just saying.
Yeah, they're fine. It's a non-issue.
There's no way they're giving up like Cal Foot, right?
I can't. That much of a future? You think they would?
God, after they gave up Nolan Foot in the first rounder for Blake Coleman. Character guy doesn't mean you don't have any skill. Matt Calvert is a character guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any skill. I mean, obviously he's a fourth liner, but it
doesn't mean he's not skilled though.
Yeah, a character guy to me, when I think of a character guy, I just think of, I don't know, my archetype is like build a classic character guy. I'm thinking of a guy that's slightly undersized, maybe 5'10".
Yeah, definitely undersized. Super vocal in the locker room. Always the guy on the bench who's always like, "Let's go, boys."
Yeah, and just super positive and upbeat personality, very optimistic.
Yeah.
These are all personality traits. It had nothing to do with how he plays hockey. Nothing to do with any of that. I would probably rather Iafallo over Lawton. I would probably prefer Lawton's.
That close.
I would probably prefer Lawton's price over Iafallo.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. Are we waiting for this Savard trade or not? Because this thing has kind of gone off the rails a little bit here.
I mean, we still have Monday. We can just talk about it then.
There you go. So
we're gonna go off, and the details of this are gonna pop out immediately.
Yeah, the second we click end, the details will pop out. But we're about to spend 3 hours on Monday talking about 0 trades at the rate this deadline is going. So maybe we need to save some of the content for Monday or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Sampo Ranta plays tonight for the Colorado Eagles.
This is the funniest fucking tweet. The Avs sent out a tweet saying burgundy and blue looks good on you, Doob, and then photoshopped him in a picture wearing the reverse retro.
Oh, that's not the right colors, yeah.
Oh my god, that's such an Avs social media team thing. It's classic.
Okay, on that note, I guess we're going to get out of here for the day. Appreciate all y'all tuning in on the Emergency Podcast. Of course, feel free to shoot us your thoughts in the comments after this is posted properly on YouTube on Dubnyk. We always read them, usually comment on a couple of them. So we love all y'all. This will be up as a podcast as well, if that's your style. We'll get that up there. But thank you for the YOLO watching, listening. Look, Dubnyk makes the Avs better, and that's what we're going to go out on. Have a great rest of your Saturday.